So when Eala plays, we all get together and we all watch her support her as a group of people.
So incredible. This is my first time in duel, so thank you guys.
Only when Alex performs do we pay.
So the year subscription, just in case.
The monthly.
Oh, the monthly.
You only pay when she plays. It's paid to play.
Get the yearly.
Yo,
it's $77. I love the.
On March 7th, 2026, a Filipino fan standing inside the BNP Paribas Open stated those 7 words to tournament authorities at Indian Wells. They weren't whispered, they weren't shared anonymously online, and they were spoken aloud on tape to those in charge of the event. Hours later, while still fighting back emotions on the court, Alex Eala herself explained why 115 million people have made one 20-year-old the most powerful ticket in women's tennis. Will Eala's supporters ever develop a deep passion for tennis itself? Or will they continue to appear only for her? Leave a comment with your response. Eala had just defeated Diana Yastremska in 3 sets, 7-5, 4-6, 7-5. While she was still cooling off, hundreds of people stood in queue outside the venue for autographs in a late-night Indian Wells thriller where every point sounded like a football stadium. It wasn't a Grand Slam championship. The world number 32 participated in this round of 64 match. Other courts were half empty across the grounds. The WTA cannot disregard that contrast. This week, Indian Wells faced criticism for new ticketing regulations that made stadium to appear empty throughout the first few rounds. There were noticeable gaps in the spectators and sporadic clapping as the top 10 players entered the court. After a commanding 6-4, 6-2 victory in the second round, the world number 1, Aryna Sabalenka, who has 11 wins and 1 defeat this year, observed the enthusiasm of the spectators and mentioned how many seats were occupied on a Friday. She was appreciative by the turnout. Now think about what was going on Eala's court at the same time. Fans who had traveled for hours from Los Angeles, San Diego, and the Inland Empire filled the stadium to full for a player placed 31 spots below Sabalenka, with standing room only, flags draped over every railing, and 2 million Filipinos living in California alone. The crowd had to be acknowledged by the world number 1. They were unable to be forced to leave by the world number 32. Indian Wells was not the starting point of this pattern. Sela Talik, the tournament director, officially acknowledged that it had begun to pick up speed in Dubai 3 weeks prior. We made almost $53 million in just 3 days, or 72 hours, and that was fantastic. According to Talik, the stadium sold out for every one of her games. People were frantically attempting to obtain tickets. It is unlike anything we have ever seen. A tournament director, who has hosted all of the biggest names in women's tennis, said that a player outside of the top 30 created demand he had never seen. That isn't fan fervor. That is a disruption of the market. Even more astounding are the stats off the court. Eala's pre-tournament press conference at the Australian Open in January had 171,000 YouTube views. 9,000 were drawn to Sabalenka's. Before a single ball was struck, not by a rival champion, but by a 20-year-old who had never advanced to a Slam quarterfinal, the world number 1, 3-time Grand Slam champion, and most powerful force in the women's game, was outrun 19-1. Then came the quote that summed everything up on March 7th. The statement that is already reverberating throughout every WTA boardroom was uttered by a fan at Indian Wells speaking to authorities and then quoted in Phil Star. Only when Alex performs do we pay.
That isn't just fandom.
This is a clear example of exclusive economic loyalty, a whole group of people telling the sport that their wallet's open for one name and close for everyone else. It's also visible to other players. Coco Gauff made an incredible statement when standing at the press platform following her victory over Eala in the Dubai quarterfinals. I am aware that you are most likely here to support Alex. I want to express my gratitude to Alex for introducing a new audience to the sport. This environment, in my opinion, is fantastic for the sport. The winning player gave the losing player credit for her contributions to every arena she plays in, rather than for her tennis skills. Gauff realized that Eala's supporters were announcing their existence in a sport that had never seen them before, rather than merely cheering for a certain outcome. After defeating Yastremska in 3 sets over the course of nearly 2.5 hours in the bitterly cold Indian Wells, Eala found a microphone, and her voice broke. "Having this community behind me means the world," she remarked.
Up late and stay in the cold and cheer me on.
Remain up late, endure the cold, and support me. After the game, does it truly add to the feelings and emotions? She was not expressing appreciation. It overpowered her. Her voice made it clear that she did not consider the throng to be background noise. She battles through third sets at 11 o'clock at night because of them. Every tournament director, every commentator, and every player on the circuit is suddenly confirming what you already knew if you have been claiming for months, that this phenomenon was real and that the vibe surrounding Eala was unlike anything tennis had ever encountered. Steve Johnson played in front of the largest audiences in professional tennis, lasted more than 10 years on the ATP Tour, and rose into the top 20. One of the most reputable independent voices in sport, he currently co-hosts the Nothing Major podcast. On February 25, 2026, Johnson made a statement that no other member of the media dared to make. Is she larger than Sabalenka? Is she larger than Coco? Does she have the largest drawer among the women? Is she larger than Sabalenka? Is she larger than Coco? Yes, it is insane, buddy. Only a standing room. The world's crazy crowds. The number 32 player in the world is the single largest draw in women's tennis, not going toward it, but already there, according to a man who has lived inside those venues and has played in front of large crowds for years. The WTA has never had to deal with what Eala stands for. A player whose cultural significance is orders of magnitude higher than her rating. Every competition she participates in turns into a business event. She runs the risk of having half-empty stands at every competition she misses. Next is the Miami Open. Roland Garros and the clay court swing follow. While watching Indian Wells and Dubai, tournament directors from Strasbourg to Eastbourne are asking themselves the same question: how can we include Alex Eala in our draw? The more profound question is whether these supporters stay devoted to a single player or become lifelong tennis followers. Eala appears to be conscious of the risks. On March 7th, she commented, "I have only dreamed of making tennis grow in the Philippines, and now I am bringing a whole new audience to tennis all around the world." She is playing for a movement rather than merely the outcome. That movement witnessed Eala lose 0-6, 2-6 to golf in Dubai 3 weeks prior to Indian Wells, a double bagel in a quarterfinal in front of the same boisterous Filipino crowd that had propelled her through the draw. Instead of making excuses, she publicly thanked the opponent who outperformed her and the supporters who stayed. She returned to the court at Indian Wells 7 days later and triumphed in a 3-set marathon in the bitter cold of the desert. Dubai sold out. The press room of the Australian Open flooded. On a Thursday night in March, Indian Wells transformed into a Filipino celebration. A fan looked at tournament authorities and notified them straight away. The reality that the entire sport must now face. We only pay when Alex performs. Steve Johnson referred to her as bigger than Sabalenka. Goff congratulated her for altering the game, and Eala sobbed as she stood on the court, demonstrating that her relationship with her people is not a publicity stunt. No opponent can take it away, and no ranking can quantify it. Will Eala's supporters ever develop a deep passion for tennis itself? Or will they continue to appear only for her? And is that devotion a gift to the sport or an issue that the WTA is unable to resolve? Leave a comment with your response. You belong here if you notice this occurrence before the tournament directors and experts did. This channel follows the narrative as it develops. Miami later this month, Indian Wells this week, and all subsequent chapters. In order to be present when the next wave arrives, subscribe.